How many languages do you speak?
Polish, English, German, and I started learning Spanish and French.
So I speak Korean as my native tongue, and I also speak English and Japanese, French, Spanish, and Chinese.
I'm Language Sim. I'm a YouTuber from the United States. Oh, I've studied probably 20, but in terms of how ones I'm actually good at, maybe about 5.
I've got around 20, I believe, on my badge.
Okay.
Japanese, English, Spanish, Catalan, Ukrainian, Russian, Portuguese, French, Italian, Polish, and Czech.
Well, that's a great question. It all depends on what's your definition of speaking. I believe that speaking is being to express yourself in every situation that you find yourself in. So if we talk about speaking, I say that 9.
Apart from English and Filipino, which is part of our school system, I've studied 8, which I've deigned to put here. Well, not so much deigned, but I've also studied other languages I've not put here, like Korean, Indonesian. Right now I'm studying Hungarian because I live in Hungary.
What is your motivation to learn many languages?
Talk to people and also to travel. And whenever I travel, I want to talk the language of the place here.
Because why not? Because there are so many languages in the world that I don't know yet, and I just wanted to understand people when they talk in a different language, sort of expanding my territory.
I like Thai. I think it's really challenging, and I like it for that. I like the writing system. It's really complex, but also logical, which I enjoy.
How?
It's systematic. Once you learn the system, I think it's more systematic than the English alphabet.
Can you explain it more to me?
I mean, yeah, if you know the rules, whenever you see a combination of vowel, consonant, and tone marker, it very consistently produces the same sound. Whereas English, there's many different ways to spell all the different vowel sounds and many different ways to write the different consonant sounds. But in Thai, it's when you have a group of letters, it very consistently makes the same sound.
How long did it take you to study Thai?
I was in Chiang Mai for like probably 6 years and knew very basic, just farang, just could order khao pat like that. And then I took a 1-year course at the university, and that shot me way high. Because like I had a lot of like listening practice in and heard it a lot. And so it took me probably a year of like concentrated study to be able to read it. I saw some demonstrations of the Ling app, and I think it would be really helpful for learning Thai. You have to learn Thai because Thai people are the chillest and the nicest people, and Thailand's the best country in the world.
And I also realized that English is obsolete in many situations, especially when you find yourself abroad and just people look at you differently.
What is your preferred method of learning languages?
That's a good question. Just don't think too much about the method. Spend as much time as possible with the language you're learning. If you spend enough time, you will find various ways that'll work.
But for example, in your case, how did you spend your time with your languages?
At first, I try to understand the sounds of the language so that I don't like say the wrong things when I'm, thinking that I'm saying the right things. Yeah, and understand pronunciation, sounds, and also buy as many books as possible. Like I buy every book that's available on the language in my country whenever I start learning a new language, and then go through quickly grammar, like really quickly over like 3 days, just skim through. Okay, this is how it works, so that I don't have a lot of fear, and then slowly learn the basics.
Are you doing something related to? Are you a student or?
I teach the Korean language. I have my own company and brand. Talk to Me in Korean is the brand name, and I've been doing it for 15 years.
That's cool. And so it's easier for you to cooperate between learning languages and your jobs.
Yes, and also I started teaching Korean because I love learning languages, and the only language that I understand completely 100% is, of course, my mother tongue. And being a language learner myself helps me be a good teacher or instructor or entrepreneur.
I like immersing the language. I try to speak my target language as soon as possible.
Well, I'm a strong believer that the most important thing is input. I'm gonna be, for instance, like Swedish, my latest language, one could say. I listened just to podcasts. I would watch things. I would just consume everything that is I could find, that was within my reach for 3 months. I came to Polyglot gathering. I had my first conversation in Swedish, and then a native Swede said that I speak so well that I should have put my Swedish on sea level actually. So that might be one of the best compliments I've ever received.
Really have one favorite one, but it's generally motivation based. So whatever I enjoy, for example, listening to music in foreign languages, watching films, is something that really motivates me. Yeah.
Do you think that learning grammars at the beginning is very important?
I would say it hugely depends on the person. One of the most interesting parts about coming to these kinds of events is that you see people who've learned languages in so many different ways. I personally wouldn't learn grammar right at the start of a language because it doesn't excite me that much. I'm very much one of those who believes in speaking right from the beginning of learning a language.
But then how can you find the people to practice the language without learning the grammar?
Yeah, I think so. I believe, especially if you know similar languages, you can imbibe the grammar without actually formally learning the rules. And I believe that method can work because it's more interesting to people rather than just poring over textbooks and literally learning each grammar rule one by one.
Really just through natural watching YouTube videos. That's kind of all I do is watch YouTube videos, listen to podcasts, and I'm also a fan of Pimsley, yeah.
Yeah, is that also the reason why you decided to make your own YouTube video?
Yeah, for sure. Of course. And I love languages, so I had to share that humor with the world. But I also love talking on Discord. That's like my huge cheat code. I speak so much on Discord. It's a perfect way to talk to people.
Well, I love to learn languages by speaking with native speakers. To each language that I learn, I have one native person that I can talk to in this language.
So if I just begin with a new language, I focus more on active study. I try to do that every day if possible. So I really sit down and study the language. I try to improve it actively. When I get to a higher level, maybe an intermediate level, I try to incorporate it into my daily life. And so I would do activities that I would normally do in a different language. So
For example?
I would cook something in Italian, an Italian recipe. I would read an article in French, newspaper in French or something.
The one of exposure and practicing is actually listening to music and not just listening passively, but absorbing the words. And if there's something I don't understand, I have to look that up. And then over time of doing that a lot, I just start to sometimes have conversations with myself inside my own head.
So you ask and you answer at the same time?
Yes.
And then you have a full-time job. So how can you manage to learn languages while you're doing your job?
At least even if you are busy, you can find 5-10 minutes every day somehow before you sleep. After you wake up somehow, then sometimes people say like, oh, I don't have much time to study languages, but actually you can find out somehow. Definitely you have lunch break, you have dinner break somehow, right? So 5 minutes, 10 minutes every day. Studying every day is really important, I would say.
And then how have learning languages changed you?
I can get to know much more people in all over the world, I would say. I can accept cultural difference much more, I would say. I don't really get frustrated because of cultural difference.
Can you give an example about that?
In Japanese, 1 minute means 1 minute. But in English or other language, 1 minute, 1 second, actually it doesn't mean exact 1 minute or 1 second, as you guys know. It means wait a second, wait a bit, right? Actually, the story when I moved to United States, one of my flatmate told me, a roommate told me, Yoshiki, 1 second. Then I waited for 1 second. I said, John? He was like, I said 1 second, Yoshiki. Yeah, I waited 1 second. What's wrong?
Japanese people.
It changed everything. Back in the day, I was just a boring engineer. Now I'm a language YouTuber at an amazing language event. Everything has changed. I'm in the Czech Republic.
Do you think that your identity changed when you speak different languages?
Yes, for sure. I'm a different person completely. My voice changes so dramatically and my personality is so different as well. I think I'm really pretentious in French. I'm a little arrogant. In Russian, I'm a little more tough and rough and stuff.
For example?
My voice gets... Это мой голос на русском языке, mais en français, c'est un peu comme ça. C'est un peu comme ça ma voix en français, но на русском мой голос это вот когда...
Very much. I have multiple personalities now, in a good way.
Can you name those personalities?
I didn't name them, I should. So the Korean-speaking Hyunwoo and the English-speaking Hyunwoo, the Japanese-speaking Hyunwoo, they are all not identical, they are slightly different. English, the most direct, Korean less direct, Japanese almost not direct at all.
Can you give an example for that?
So in English, if I need somebody's help, I will say, you need to help me. I'll say that. In Korean, I'll say, 좀 도와줄 수 있어? Which is can you help me? And then in Japanese, you would say things like 手伝ってもらいたいと思ってるんですけど like I am thinking that I would like to be helped by you. That's very, very different. People say like 持ってるんですけど like I am thinking but, and then they don't even finish the sentence because they're being as indirect as possible. So that's something that I picked up.
Thank you so much.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.